Let's start with Liverpool, and we'll start with Liverpool based on the fact they did a lot of work last summer to retool in certain areas. Both fullbacks, 2 strikers came in. They spent an awful lot of money. They're not the finished article yet by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of big work has been done. Where do you think Liverpool need to strengthen? What do they need to do in the summer to just apply those finishing touches to what they've done already?
Well, I don't think it'll be blockbuster for Liverpool in the summer. I think it'll be more addressing the balance in the squad. I think they've already acted quickly in terms of the centre-half positions. Jeremy Jacquet, 60 million from Rennes, who'll join in the summer. I think he's got a shoulder injury at the moment, but he'll be available. I think they're still going to try and do Konate to renew his contract. So you'd like to think defensively they're probably fine. I still believe they need a powerhouse in midfield. And I think they need to address the Mo Salah situation.
That's seismic, Stephen, not just for Liverpool, but for the Premier League as well, just based on what a player he's been. And we've all enjoyed watching him. He's had unbelievable success. He's won everything. He's set records.
Definitely in the conversation in terms of being the best Premier League player ever. You'd say he was in the conversation.
What kind of players, you say a powerhouse in midfield, but those wide attacking positions, what kind of players do they need there?
1v1 merchants who can go on the outside. I think at times this season, certainly when they had that spell where they were inconsistent, I think they were quite predictable on the sides. And I think the way this manager wants to play is work it side to side to set the 1v1s up. I think they've missed Diaz a lot this season. And I don't think, obviously, well, the dip in form from Mo, for me, I would say we need to address the sides of the pitch.
Anthony Gordon's a name that's been linked with Arsenal. It's been linked with Liverpool. We know what he can do. Could you see a player like him as a Liverpool player next season, Ali?
I like Anthony Gordon. I'm not sure his overall quality would entice Liverpool. I think Anthony Gordon, with his pace, is suited to play against the high-lining teams that have the ball. So that would, against Liverpool, for example, that would probably suit them. But I'm not sure.
When you watch Anthony Gordon, everybody loves watching him play. But I think if you're Liverpool, you got to go ready, tried and tested. And for me, that would be Elise, somebody of that calibre.
Would they get him though? Would they get him? Would he be available?
Probably not. But the thing is, if you don't actually don't get, and I wouldn't want to see him leave Bayern because that front three is amazing. But if you're talking Elise on that right-hand side for Liverpool, that's box office. You think about Barcola can play on the left or the right. Stevie's 1v1, 2 lads that can get by anybody. You know, there's a young lad at Leipzig, Diamande, 1v1, he's only 19 years old. Honestly, he leads people
I'd be very surprised if they're not in the market for these type of players. I'd be very surprised. You'd have to buy someone who's box office. Or you're not replacing them. They have to be top 3, 4 wingers in the world to replace Mo Salah.
Because the expectation there is different,
That's what Mo's been.
I get it totally. Where I would maybe disagree with you boys, I think somebody like Jared Bowen could play there. I really do. I think Jared Bowen has been one of the outstanding players at West Ham. That goes without saying. And I also believe, I firmly believe, with a team like Liverpool, with players at Liverpool, I think his game could go again. I really do.
I'd take Somerville again. I like Somerville. I think he's brilliant in 1v1s. He looks hungry to me. In a team that struggled, he's been a shining light and got better as the season's gone on. I really like Bowen, but I'm just not sure he's Salah's level to replace him. But I really think he's a top player. But I think Liverpool will probably look for more 1v1 merchants on the sides.
If you could play fantasy manager then, Mo Salah leaves Liverpool this summer. Who are you, if you've got unlimited resources, who are you replacing Mo Salah with?
It would be Elise if you could get him out of Bayern, but the Bayern won't sell him, I don't think. But it would be Elise. I think he honestly, he's just got something so different. We talk about Cole's calm and chill on the ball. I mean, Elise is, he's so relaxed, it's actually amazing. Remember watching him at the Emirates before the game, he was just jogging and flicking it up. Do you know what I mean? He's just chilled, and I think you need to deal with that pressure of playing for that massive football club. You need somebody quite special, and I think he could be that guy.
Stevie, I'll give you the keys.
There's only one man, by the way.
Listen, I'm coming to you in a minute.
Right.
I'm coming to you in a minute.
It's not for debate.
Save yours.
Just to let you know, if you've got a magic wand, there's only one man.
So that's great. So you
go on, Ali.
Yamal.
Stevie, what does a powerhouse midfielder look like in the Liverpool team?
I just think Liverpool have had some problems in transition this year and counter-attacks, fast attacks, when there's space behind the back four and stuff. I don't think they've got someone in there that can really put fires out and be dominant in the midfield. I think Gravenberch is capable of being an 8 as well. I haven't liked it when they've had to move Szoboszlai away from the midfield. I think they've got 3 really good midfielders. Curtis is a little bit different for me. He can play a little bit everywhere. I'd just like them to go out and get a real dominant defensive midfielder that can really help protect the back four a little bit more.
I remember did an interview with Ryan, and I said, mate, you're an 8. You're a box-to-box midfield player. That's how good he is. He played the 6 as a world-class player last season.
The problem I've got, if you get an injury to Gravenberch, or he's missing for a period of time, I don't like the dynamics of how the middle would look. Do
you know an interesting name, Ali? And we've seen a fair bit of him this season. They could be at the centre of a lot of this. Forest could be at the centre of a lot of the business.
Yeah, he's the one.
Sangari at Forest.
No.
You like Anderson?
No, Anderson's tailor-made for them.
I think if Anderson... I don't think Anderson would be that. I think Anderson's better when he plays further up. I think that's what they've identified.
Is he similar to McCoist, Anderson?
Yeah, he is. I think when you look at Sangari, he's the epitome of a physically dominant holding midfield player who's good with the ball.
I like him.
I do.
Him. I mean, I love Anderson, right, but I think he's similar to McAllister.
But for the Liverpool fit, we're talking here, aren't we?
He could sit there in front of that back four all day. Where did he come from? Was it Eindhoven he got?
Yeah. Took him 2 years to settle in.
Absolutely. But I like him. Yeah.
I think I could see Elliot. And obviously, he plays a little bit, he creates a lot actually for a central midfield player. But the only reason is because he's better than the others that are playing in there. If he went to Liverpool, he's not better than Wirtz and Szoboszlai. He's not. He's a very good player.
But he's also not he's not that physically dominant one that Steven's talking about.
But I think he's got a bit of bite about him. I think he could sit in there and do that. He's got a great range of passing. He could spray it. Imagine them two just sat next to each other, Ryan and Gravenberch and
Let's talk about his more likely destination, because he's being linked with the 2 Manchester clubs, isn't he? This if you believe what's being written at the moment about his future, and a lot of this could depend on how good a World Cup he has. You'd presume at the minute he's going to be a starter for England. It seems to be a fight at the moment between Manchester City and Manchester United for Elliot Anderson. So which of those 2 clubs do you think he suits the best?
Well, I'd be surprised if he went to City just because they've got Nico and got Rodri in there. But I think if you're United, you think back to the great Liverpool teams, United teams. They kind of had England's midfield. I think they've kind of gone away from that. I think right now they've got Kobe, obviously Casemiro's leaving, Bruno, who's been amazing, so who knows how long he'll be there. I think if you're United or you're squad planning, I would say, right, I want England's future midfield. So Elliot, Kobe. And I'd try and get Morgan Rogers or Cole Palmer. And I'd say that's where I'd throw the kitchen sink at it. Because I think they've got a decent little nucleus here with that. But obviously with Casemiro leaving, you need defensive one, and you need a 10. And I think if you had Elliot, Kobe and Morgan Rogers or Cole Palmer, you're going to be competing for a while. I love the idea of this, because there's been a notion that they've got to go and buy another centre-back, a full-back. I love the fact that you're saying, no, let's go and reach for the stars here. Let's go. But they've got loads of centre-backs now. You think with that 3, you think, we don't really have any. They've got 2 of the best young ones in Heaven and Euro. They've got Martinez and Maguire. De Ligt was probably their best centre-back before that. So all of a sudden they got 6. They don't need centre-backs. They don't need a keeper. Maybe a full-back. They might need a full-back. But I think the centre-mid is a position they need something.
I think the interesting ones here, you've mentioned Rodgers, you've mentioned Palmer. You'd also put Gibbs-White in that category as well, and he's being linked with Manchester United too. Do you think but they've got Bruno Fernandes there, so there's been a lot of talk about Cole Palmer, Manchester United fan, Manchester lad going back. How realistic is a Morgan Rogers or a Cole Palmer or a Gibbs-White to Manchester United this summer?
It's more obviously, say if Bruno was in there's been a lot of talk. He was unhappy with a few things, and he also deserves the right to compete for the biggest trophies, because he's been off the scale. United probably aren't there.
Who would you take of those 3? If you're gonna take one, if you're gonna say, well, let's make a splash, and you're Man U, who would you sooner have? Rodgers, Palmer?
I'd splash it in a different area.
Would you?
I'd splash it as a replacement for Casemiro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not do that as well.
They need both, though, don't they, Stevie?
Yeah, but did he play before Fernandes? None of them are better than Fernandes, are they?
But I would just wonder if your squad plan, you think, right, we got.
I think maybe further down the line, if Fernandes was to go, then you'd take Rodgers all day long. Yeah. If you were.
Is he the best of those for you, or is it over Palmer? So Palmer, Rodgers, Gibbs-White.
I think as a 10 to replace Fernandes, Yes, I would say Rodgers, yeah, but I think Palmer's more of a line-up further on. But they've already bought him in positions with Mbuemo, haven't they? So I'd say United probably need Rodgers more than...
Yeah, Cunha, obviously, is on his day, he's class, isn't he?
I just think Fernandes has been absolutely outstanding.
Amazing,
isn't he? He's been the one major positive throughout the
But if you're one of them players, you're not signing for United if he's staying, are you?
Correct.
No, I think that would be after if he did leave.
Yeah.
Then
a year down the line,
you'd
maybe?
need a Rodgers or a Cole to
replace.
Yeah.
They've got to replace Casemiro, so there's no secret there. So who's that? Who replaces him?
I mean, I think if you couldn't get a better person to look at it than Michael Carrick, because it was his position. And Michael didn't play it like I played it or Mascherano played it. You know, he played it more like Xabi Alonso, as like a thinker. And to be fair, a lot of the best managers in the world actually play that position, don't they? You know, virtually all the top managers were a defensive midfield player, whether Pep or Mikel or Simeone or Deschamps or... You could literally go on the list forever. So I think Carras, I hope, has an input on that, not the club and the sporting director. I hope he says, that's what I want.
Is there a type that they need?
I could see Elliot Anderson being that type for them.
Yeah.
I would say it needs to be someone who can really get around the pitch, and that's probably going to be his strength, who can cover areas and cover distance at speed to complement what's already in there.
But they're hard to find, Stevie, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah,
I mean,
very
that's
hard
why
to
Sir
find.
Alex signed me to do that, because the team was so attacking and I was quite athletic, so I could cover space. But actually, traditionally, the six was like Casemiro, wasn't it? Deschamps, Dunga, them. They're just Makalea, they're just there. Whereas now, because the game is so athletic, Stevie's right, you need somebody that can, like Caicedo, that can get about.
I'd say to complement Mainu and Fernandes, I would say you need someone who can get around the pitch.
See, I've been seeing a lot of Elliot Anderson this season and last season. He's a lot like Kobbie Mainoo. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I think Stevie makes a great point. I'm not sure whether you've not got two players with pretty much the same demographic next to each other in the same midfield.
But Fletch, you know what? We won the Champions League with Carrick and Scholes right next to each other. So, you know, it works if the boys can if the rest of the group is right. And so I think depending on what you have, you can figure out what you need. But I think the good players, they figure it out eventually.
Let's do City then, because you wonder whether they've done the bulk of their business in January with Semenyo and Guehi. Is this City team finished, or...?
I think they need a right back.
Right.
Núñez has done a steady job there, but I wouldn't say he's the long-term solution. With all due respect, I think he's more of a midfielder and a squad player.
They talked
you
about
can see them going
there,
for a Livramento. You can see that. You can see that.
He's perfect for them, isn't he?
You can see.
Play left or right.
If you're thinking about the job that Kyle Walker's done there for 7-8 years, he's been world class there. There's a gap there for them to replace that area, I would say.
That's the only real spot, isn't it? Really.
Maybe in a wide area as well, I think. And Stephen touched on it. I think the top teams need to have somebody in a wide position that can beat a man, and the whole thing changes. They need to beat the low block, and then, as I say, forcing people to come out, and the picture changes. I think that's a must for the top teams.
They probably need a centre mid as well, but I think Bernardo Silva's contract runs out.
But again, they're being linked with Elliot Anderson.
You couldn't get more different, Elliot and Bernardo. I mean, first of all, I think he's been one of the best players, Bernardo. To watch him, never moans, he's always fit, can play him in 5 positions, and he's top in every one of them. That is going to be a hard replacement.
So who's that in the world?
I mean, there's not many of them. It's like a Pedri type, isn't it? De Jong.
The closest would be PSG players. Probably, them.
And you're not getting them, are you?
No. PlayStation players, aren't
you? I tell you, there's 2 teams, I think, that could be everybody's looking at. Newcastle and Forest. You look at Forest, there's Murillo, Sangari, Anderson, Gibbs-White. All could go. And Williams, by the way, at Liverpool, Nico Williams had a really good season there. Then you look at Newcastle. Tonali was linked with Arsenal in January. Bruno Guimaraes is constantly linked with different people.
I'd be amazed if nobody came in for Guimaraes.
Yeah.
I mean, and then players will want to play in the Champions League.
Of course they will.
He's the one that...
Could he be the one to replace Bernardo Silva?
Or Casemiro.
Or Casemiro.
Because he can play as a 6, he can play as an 8. He's one that you can pass on the ball at any point, can play. He's their top scorer, isn't he? As your defensive midfielder, top scorer. I mean, Stevie always was, wasn't he? But, often. But he's got something. He's captain. He can score. He can stop people and he can play.
And there's no risk. There's no risk with paying the money, because you know he can do it in the league.
And he's probably in an age where as loved as he is at Newcastle, you're probably thinking, right, he could play for Real or Barca or anyone, and you're probably thinking, no, I want to test myself with the best.
What about this situation at Arsenal? Because you've been absolutely bullish which I like when you're like that. Adamant that this is the best squad.
Yeah.
Probably in the whole of Europe.
Yeah.
2 for every position, more in some cases.
Yeah.
Do they stand pat in the summer and say we're okay? They were linked with Sandro Tonali in January. Did they look to add to strength? Is this a good time for them to go back in, buying from a position of strength?
I think a lot of it would depend how the season pans out for Arsenal. I think always you look to bring and strengthen your squad, and I think that will be the case. But they'll have to get a few at the door if that was the case. And I think they will look to strengthen. But I also believe it's going to be a lot of it will determine how the season goes. I mean, particularly with, the manager as well. I think the pressure on Arsenal is absolutely immense. I disagree with you. I think they will go over the line. They need that squad